Welcome to the Breakfast Leadership Show, where we interview global thought leaders on business, leadership, and life. Here's your host, keynote speaker, best-selling author, and chief burnout officer of the Breakfast Leadership Network, Michael Levitt.
Welcome back. I've got Luisa and Molano online. Luisa, how are you?
Fan-freaking-tastic.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I always love your energy is already good. I'm like, okay, good. I mean, I've already had my coffee for the day, so we're good. But it's like, I don't need a top up. We're good. So why don't you share a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this very important conversation.
Yeah, a little bit about me. I live and breathe entrepreneurship, and specifically an empowering, joyful entrepreneurial journey. I think a lot of people that view either early in their entrepreneurial journey or looking to launch their entrepreneurial journey have they're in one of two camps. Oh my gosh, this is amazing, and screw my 9 to 5, and I'm going to go, and it's purpose and freedom and all this, and it's true, and there's a lot of work behind it. And then you have others that are like, oh my God, I don't think I want to do it because it's just, I've heard this and I've heard that, and I know this founder or that entrepreneur, and they're just like always working 9 to 5. And so between those two extremes, I try to find this middle ground where, yeah, there's work. Being an entrepreneur is a lot of work. And along the journey, unpopular opinion, you get metaphorically gut punched on a regular basis, but you learn to love the process. You learn to fall in love with finding your audience, creating your offers, going to market, learning, getting your knocks and getting back up again, going, dang, I learned a ton. Let me go back at it. And that's what I live and breathe, the journey of bringing a little more joy into that entrepreneurial landscape from early stage, what do you do, all the way to scaling and really growing and building that revenue engine in a way that looks good and feels good. I'm a cake and eat it too kind of girl.
There you go. I'm in the same boat. It's like there's more than enough for all of us. We just have to find our way through the bumps and bruises and lessons, and we will reach whatever journey or destination we want to go to. And it reminds me of, one of the things I love doing is journaling. So I've got notebooks. Actually, I can see them on the other side of this camera. There's some notebooks from the last few years, and some of them are when I launched my organization back in 2016. And I look back at the notes, and it's funny. I look and go, wow, I really didn't know what the heck I was doing, but this is cute. It's like I see the growth, and I'm like, okay, wow, that's good. It's like, oh, I guess I'm not going to do that because that's been on a to-do list item since 2017. I don't think I need to do that now because it doesn't match up with what I'm doing. But it's one of those things where, and I tell an entrepreneur this all the time, you have to make sure that as best as you can. And yes, like you said, there's a lot of time and effort and hours that are put in this. You make sure that you're kind of looking around while you're doing it. You enjoy the journey, bumps and the bruises, the gut punches, like you said, and even those small victories, landing that first client or selling that first offer, or like we talked about in the pre-show, and launching that funnel to let people kind of guide themselves into the direction where they want to go and what they need so they get the product or service that is right for them. And it's such a beautiful thing when we get to do that. And I am just thrilled when I hear people say, I think I'm going to launch my own business. My first question, or actually first comment out of it is like, good, do it. I don't know what they're going to launch. I have no idea what they're going to launch. I said, good, do it. And they look at me, I haven't told you what they can do. I say, you want to launch a business? Go do it. Because that's where it starts. All the products and services that we use on a daily basis originally came from an idea, a concept, or somebody wanting to do something. And we have to encourage that. And one of the things that you do really, really well, amongst many things, is you're a strong advocate for community. And I think, and we talked a little bit about this in the pre-show too, over the last 5 years, the need for community, I don't think, has ever been stronger. And so many people, unfortunately, for one reason or another, kind of silo themselves or get siloed away from peers and mentors that can really help them grow, not only as an entrepreneur, but as a person. So, why don't you share a little bit about the work you do as far as a community? I love the name of your community, by the way. It's it definitely has a great ring to it. So, why don't you share a little bit about that?
It does, yeah. So HERlocity is about to turn a year old, something I'm really excited about. And it's a product of my own entrepreneurial journey and really wanting to bring something to bear that I wished had been there when I started my entrepreneurial journey. There are so many feelings of isolation. We go sometimes from a big corporate job, 9 to 5, with team and direct reports. And even in a smaller organization, you're certainly before COVID on a regular basis, you were around a lot of other people. And then you're on your own. You're working from home, or maybe you're at a co-working spot, and the dynamic changes, and no one really prepares you for how that energetically can feel like the rug is getting pulled out from under you. And I gripped my wheel at 10 and 2, and I was like, I got this. I got this. If it's going to be, it's up to me. If it's going to be, it's up to me. If it's going to be, it's up to me. And I said, wow, in year 2, I started to look up and around. You talked about looking around and enjoying the journey. And I went, wait, just because I can do this alone doesn't mean I have to. So, like, whatever you're doing right now, take that one thing to mind, to heart. Just because you can do it alone doesn't mean you have to. There's an African proverb that I love that says, you go fast alone, you go far together. And going fast alone is fun until it's not. And you look around and you're like, oh, all I hear are the crickets. And so, and there's an art to connection. We actually, in HERlocity this morning, had a masterclass on building relationships and really cultivating strategic relationships, and what the mistakes are that are commonly made and the mindset it takes to succeed, and what are those action steps. And I go, man, I was sitting there listening to the master class speaker and watching the women in the boxes from all over the world going, wow, I've created something that gives women across the globe a sense of belonging on their entrepreneurial journey. And it is so, as a founder, fulfilling to have that for myself. And then when you see those wins and you see those shares and you see people share in the breakout rooms, in the community, in events, wow, I didn't know that you felt that way too. Or it's not just me. Or, oh my gosh, what you just shared inspired me. And there's almost this synergy that happens where we learn with and from each other. And then we apply that into our business. And in my one-on-one work with clients and in the community, I see that there's so much more creativity. There's more innovation. There's more growth with less effort, because you're building a network where you're 1 or 2 texts away from an introduction, a connection, and it takes time to cultivate that. But if you plant the seeds, you're not guaranteed to have a fruit tree, but you'll never have a fruit tree if you don't plant the seeds. And it starts with community and connection.
And one of the things that jumps out at me too about this, and I've experienced this as an entrepreneur, is there are times when you feel a little beat down, and you just, that race is, and even if you've got a team and you've got peers, there are times where you're dragging a little bit, and it could be the weather, it could be news alerts. I always tell people, don't pay attention to the news, please. It's just going to bring you down. But just don't do it. It doesn't matter what flavor you consume. It's just focus on your path. You make your own economy, okay? And you don't have to worry about anything else if you do that. But what I find is when you're part of a community and you get to be with other people, and even this show and talking with people, when I finish a conversation, I say 99.9% of the time, the call will end, and I am on such a euphoric high and want to take on the planet, we're going to make this world better. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. It's that community thing. It help reinvigorate you, go and say, you know what? Okay, it's okay for you to feel down for a moment, but don't stay there. Remember why you're doing this. Remember, how bad did you want this? And you just do it. Is it going to be easy? No. If anybody told you it was going to be easy, I'm sorry, it isn't. There's challenging times, but you persevere because you have to remind yourself, okay, why did I want to do this in the first place? Why did I want to leave my corporate gig that was quote unquote safe to venture out into this, or stop being a nurse, for example, and launch my own business because I just can't handle the workload anymore in the healthcare sector or wherever it happens to be. You made a choice. And hopefully you talked with some people about it, and to get their feedback, because it's important to seek guidance. And that's again where community is such a key component, because you could be stuck on something and someone says, well, we'll do this and this. And next thing you know, you go, oh, you flip a couple levers and all of a sudden it starts working. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you get to move on to the next stage and the next stage. And that's where community is such a beautiful thing, and what you've designed. And congratulations on the birthday. I'm assuming you're going to have cake. It probably won't be as messy as a 1-year-old's birthday cake party, but it could be. I don't know. I don't know how you party. I'm assuming it might be messy, but that's all right. They sell wipes and cleaning sprays and things like that to clean it up. That's my recommendation.
Totally.
Have a cake and go 1-year-old on it. Everybody will look at you, and they most of the people that know you probably go, I'm not surprised she's doing it this way, but
Right.
yeah. So give it a shot. But yeah, I think again, community is so important, and it can be a huge community or a small one, whatever works for you. But I think again, going back to HERlocity, and I think about this, and go back to the pandemic for a moment. When I started seeing a lot of female executives, high-ranking executives, take a step back and go, you know what? I'm not going to work this grind anymore because I want to spend more time with my family and my kids. It upset me, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it shouldn't be a choice of either or. And I think that's my biggest complaint in the workplace culture and the workspace stuff that I do, is I don't want people to have to choose between their family and their work. You shouldn't have to make that choice. It should be you have them both, and they harmonize how they need to be. As an entrepreneur, one of the big things that gives you some flexibility, for more or less, is you have the ability to say, you know what, I'm going to spend more time working at home so I can spend more time with my children or with my family or my dog or my cat, whatever you want, but to give you that control back of how you spend your time so you can be really creative and rested and grow and all of that. So again, I commend you on the community. I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of that.
Yeah. What comes up for me is when I am talking to folks about HERlocity and community, some of the challenges or the resistance or the concerns they have in a very human way is, but what if I say I don't know? If I say I don't know, or if I show up like we have this idea that we need to have it as entrepreneurs all figured out, that we need to know the answers, and to not know is somehow a bad mark on our character. And so I think that keeps folks from stepping into community. And tragically, what it does is it furthers the isolation, and it furthers the depressive tendencies, or I'm not cut out for this, which is one of the most heartbreaking things I hear entrepreneurs is like, I don't know, Luisa, I might have to go back. I mean, it's not beyond me to go back to corporate if I can't make this work. And that breaks my heart, because it breaks my heart and it lights me up. It breaks my heart because that's an experience that they're having. And it lights me up because I go, I'd be willing to bet you're not a part of a community of like-minded individuals. Because when you are a part of a community of like-minded individuals who are on a similar journey to you, HERlocity is all about female entrepreneurship and navigating the journey across the pillars that we have of programming, which are very comprehensive and holistic for women. So it's a very generalized community with a lot of programming in specific areas, but you also have very, very niche communities for product-based B2B organizations. And school does a really good job in the directory of like listing all the different communities that there are out there. But I'd be willing to bet you're not a part of a community of like-minded people, because when you are, you're not alone. You can ask questions, you can ask for support. And even if you're not at first the one putting yourself out there, you're hearing what other people saying and you're still getting value. We have hundreds of members in the community, and some people don't really participate, but then I get a message from them that they got so much value from a resource or a post or a masterclass. I'm like, I haven't seen this person engage like maybe ever. And it's similar on social media, because social media is kind of like this ginormous community, but we get into other spaces and you get to know the people versus somebody in your feed among the, like, I don't know about you, but like 7,000 followers on LinkedIn. I sometimes see the same people, and if the algorithm is in a good mood, I see them again, but it takes a lot more effort to keep people in LinkedIn, for example, in your plane of awareness. But in a community, you can really build these relationships. You can really connect with people, and then they become referral partners. They give you business. You can add value. So there's the giving and the receiving of it in community. You offer, you give, you share brilliance, and then you receive. And that reciprocity, that dynamic, to me makes, this is going to sound like a cheesy bumper sticker, but it doesn't mean I'm wrong, guys. It's the difference that makes the difference.
Yeah, and I think thinking back to community, I think back to even my childhood or my parents' childhoods when, they'd get home from school and they'd go over to their friend's house and then they would, eat dinner there. So the phone call would go back to home and, my grandma or grandfather would answer the phone and they'd say, Diane's eating here. Okay. But it was community. It was just everybody kind of took care of each other and helped each other out wherever they were in life or in business. And everyone was at, different stages, give or take. And people that, are maybe a little further along, the majority of people I've ever encountered like that are a little ahead of me in my business and all of that, if I was quote unquote brave enough to ask them for help, I mean, they were like almost on their knees crying, thanking me to ask them for help because they were so full of information that they wanted to share. And you tap into that, people, because it's a game changer. It'll get you there a lot faster than if you're doing it solo. I mean, yeah, there's no shortage of ways to find out how to do things. I mean, it's all there. You can ask ChatGPT; it'll tell you all you need to know about whatever you want to learn.
Totally.
But it doesn't have that human approach where you're having a conversation and you can see or even hear, even if it's over a phone call, the tone of voice. And I thought about that, and that makes sense. And well, what about this? And it spurs some thoughts and ideas that you may or may not have thought about. And you're like, okay, maybe I could do that, or make this tweak, and you'll actually see this, do this, or I've been struggling with the same thing. Maybe we can ask our network and see if there's anybody there that would know somebody. Well, someone will know someone. And again, that's when you start seeing it's almost like a wishing pool where it's like, I wish I could find out how to do this. And all of a sudden, boom, there you go. Here it is. And it's usually, especially in a community setting, it's specific to you because they have an understanding about what your business is, what you're doing. Yeah, I can give you in AI or Google or whatever can give you a generic response on what to do with something. But in a community, they know who you are. So the response is going to be custom made to you in all likelihood. And from there, the likelihood of you being able to implement it and being successful increases dramatically because that people most people anyway, I hope, aren't going to give you bad advice. They're going to give you advice because they want you to succeed. Why? Because it strengthens the community.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I want to add that dovetails to what you shared is, and it touched on the note of advice, is I'm a big, big champion of sovereignty and personal authority and us being the expert on us. And it's exciting to be on that journey and to drum that beat, to march to the beat of that drum in 2025, where, to your point, you have ChatGPT, you have speakers, you have podcasts, you have books. I mean, there's so much information. And even here, all that Michael and I are doing here today is giving you information. I'm not here to say that community is the only way to do it. And if anybody in any sector says this is the right way to entrepreneur, run as fast as you can away from them, because it isn't linear. Growth isn't linear. An entrepreneurial journey isn't linear. But when people share information, Michael, myself, a community, a space, you join HERlocity and you connect with somebody, you've got an access to hundreds of women across the globe when you join HERlocity, and you get on the phone and you start chatting about your journey and you ask for something, and you make that brave step and go, who do you know? Or I'm looking for this, or I want this kind of support. And then they give you information. Guess what? You now have options. You could still choose to do it the way you want to do it, but it gives you diversity of thought. And it can be so easy to live in our own silo and in our own thought bubble. The other thing that I love about community is it pulls you out of that. There's other perspectives, other cultures, at least in global communities, there's other perspectives. There's diversity of thinking. There's diversity of leadership. There's diversity of entrepreneurship. And you get these diverse dynamics and go, oh, I never thought of it like that. I don't know that I'm going to do exactly what Michael said, but I was going to do this over here. And now there's this new, and this speaks to the innovation I was mentioning earlier. Now there's this new way that I could go to market with this product that I hadn't thought of. And it's not quite you. It's not quite them. It's a blend of the two. And that's really fun when you have those moments of, oh crap, this is actually really cool. I hadn't ever thought of it like this.
And I think that's what's so eye-opening, is it gets us out of our silos and different perspectives that we can consider. We may not implement them, but at least we look at it and go, okay, so that's what it looks like outside of my fishbowl. All right. And again, it can help you go, you know what, maybe this product launch isn't the right thing to do right now because of what Sheila said or what Amy said. And I think that's something, again, you're not going to have unless you're part of a community. So, Luisa, I love this conversation. Where can people find out more about you, HERlocity, and everything else you're doing?
Yeah, HERlocity, www.herlocity.com, a play on words between her and velocity. I'm on Instagram, luisamilano.herlocity, LinkedIn, Luisa Milano, and then my website, www.luisamilano.com, LuisaMolano. Reach out. I'm a real human. I think when we do podcasts, we go, oh yeah, but I'm not going to reach out. That's what they say. I respond to every single DM that I get. Between you and I, it may take a beat. Sometimes it's a few days, but I always, always respond. To me, somebody reaching out is so appreciated by me, because that's taking that step of, okay, maybe I don't have to do this alone. So maybe this is your brave step that you take, is go, all right, she said I could reach out. I'm going to find her on LinkedIn or on Instagram, and I'm just going to send a message, say, hey, hi, heard you on the Michael Levitt podcast. Just wanted to say hello. That's it.
Awesome. Definitely have that in the show notes. So, Luisa, thank you for being you. The world needs more people like you that are crushing it and doing great things to help all of us. So thanks again for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Breakfast Leadership Show, part of the Breakfast Leadership Network. Visit breakfastleadership.com for tips on empowering your business and your life.